In the heart of Maplewood, a picturesque neighborhood lined with vibrant trees and well-kept gardens, life seemed peaceful. The houses, each painted in warm colors, sat comfortably next to one another, creating a cozy community feel. Children played in the streets while friendly neighbors often waved to one another from their porches. However, this idyllic setting was governed by a homeowners association, HOA, which took its role seriously. The HOA was responsible for maintaining the charm of the neighborhood through rules and regulations that ensured everyone kept their property in excellent condition. Most residents appreciated these efforts, believing that order brought harmony. But beneath the surface of this picture-perfect community lay tensions that could shatter its tranquility. At the helm of the HOA was Linda, an ambitious president known for her diligence but also her strict enforcement of rules. While some admired her leadership, others felt she had become power-hungry. As the HOA continued to monitor homeowners' compliance closely, fear of reprimand lingered in the air, creating division where there once was unity. Little did anyone know that Linda's quest to uphold her version of order would lead to a shocking and troubling turn of events. In Maplewood, two figures stood out amid the unfolding drama: Linda, the relentless HOA president, and Sarah, the homeowner who felt the sting of her authority. Linda, in her mid-40s, was often seen in tailored suits, exuding confidence and ambition. She dedicated herself to the HOA, believing that her rules were crucial for maintaining community harmony. Yet her controlling nature often alienated residents, causing whispers of discontent to ripple through the neighborhood. On the other side was Sarah, a single mother in her 30s who had recently moved to Maplewood seeking a fresh start. With her warm smile and lively spirit, she embodied the values of neighborliness that once defined the community. However, her relaxed approach to home maintenance clashed with Linda's stringent expectations. Sarah loved hosting weekend barbecues and letting her children play freely outside, while Linda viewed these activities as disruptions to order. Their relationship grew increasingly strained as Sarah received multiple complaints about her property from the HOA. What had started as a friendly neighborhood turned into a battleground of authority and resistance. While Linda saw herself as a guardian of decorum, Sarah felt unfairly targeted, a tension that would soon escalate dramatically. The conflict between Linda and Sarah escalated with every complaint filed against Sarah's property. It began with a simple matter: Sarah's vibrant flower garden, which she had proudly designed to brighten her front yard. While she saw beauty, Linda viewed it as an eyesore that deviated from the HOA's strict guidelines on landscaping. The complaints soon piled up, targeting everything from Sarah's untrimmed hedges to the way her children played in the front yard. Linda's approach was unyielding. She issued warning letters citing violations with each complaint, emphasizing the need for uniformity within the neighborhood. Each letter felt like a personal attack to Sarah, who merely wanted to create a warm home for her family. As the days passed, Sarah began to feel increasingly isolated, noticing neighbors hesitating to engage with her during their usual chats. Feeling cornered, Sarah decided to defend herself by attending the next HOA meeting. She expressed her frustrations directly to Linda and other board members, advocating for a community that embraced individuality rather than conformity. But her appeals fell on deaf ears. Linda viewed Sarah's words not as a plea for understanding but as defiance against her authority, making their clash all the more inevitable. As tensions reached a boiling point, Linda began to see Sarah not just as a disobedient homeowner, but as a threat to her leadership and the order she desperately wanted to maintain. In her mind, evicting Sarah would set an example for the rest of the community, showing that defiance wouldn't be tolerated. Driven by a need to assert her control, Linda devised a risky plan. She would fabricate a police report claiming that Sarah's children were causing disturbances in the neighborhood. Late one night, in her home office cluttered with HOA documents and rules, Linda crafted a detailed but false narrative. She wrote about noise complaints, suggesting that Sarah's children were consistently disruptive, playing loud music and running through yards. To add credibility, she even forged signatures from concerned neighbors who had never voiced such complaints. Convinced that this document would provide the justification she needed, Linda felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. She believed this would be her ultimate triumph over Sarah and, in her eyes, restore peace to Maplewood. However, what Linda didn't realize was that her deceitful scheme was about to unravel, setting off a chain of events that would change everything. With a determined mindset, Linda set about crafting the fake police report. Sitting at her desk late at night, she envisioned how this document would convince everyone of Sarah's supposed misdeeds. First, she decided to include specific incidents that sounded believable: loud music echoing through the neighborhood during family gatherings and children running through yards without permission. In her mind, these details would paint Sarah as reckless and irresponsible. To make her story more credible, Linda carefully forged signatures from neighbors who had never complained. She imagined them nodding in agreement when they learned of Sarah's alleged behavior, reinforcing her narrative that the peace of Maplewood was at stake. As she typed each line of the report, Linda felt a rush of excitement, convinced that this scheme would not only rid her of a troublesome homeowner but also solidify her reputation as a decisive leader. Believing that authority figures would take her seriously, Linda fantasized about how she would present the findings to the HOA board and local police. In her eyes, this plan was foolproof. It would serve as a powerful warning to anyone else who dared to defy her vision for the community. Little did she know how quickly her web of deceit would begin to unravel. The morning sun barely peeked through Sarah's kitchen window when the mailman dropped off a letter that would change her life. As she sipped her coffee and flipped through the usual advertisements, her gaze fell upon a stark envelope marked with the HOA's emblem. A sense of dread washed over her as she opened it, revealing an eviction notice based on allegations of disturbances in the neighborhood. Reading the words felt surreal. The letter mentioned loud music blaring during family gatherings and her children running wild through the yards, none of which had ever happened. Confusion mixed with disbelief as Sarah's heart raced. How could this be happening? She felt trapped in a nightmare, completely blindsided by accusations she couldn't comprehend. With tears brimming in her eyes, Sarah sank into a chair, her mind racing. She thought about all the times she had simply enjoyed being a mother and a neighbor. The unjust scenario made her feel powerless and angry. How could Linda do this to her? Determined to fight back, Sarah knew she needed to gather evidence and support from her neighbors to challenge this falsehood and protect her home, and her dignity. As news of the eviction notice spread, one neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, grew concerned. She had watched the conflict between Linda and Sarah unfold from her porch and had always admired Sarah's efforts to create a welcoming home for her children. Disturbed by the drastic measures Linda seemed willing to take, she decided to act. One afternoon, Mrs. Thompson approached the local police station, where she shared her observations and expressed doubts about the legitimacy of the complaints against Sarah. She explained how she had never witnessed any disturbances coming from Sarah's home and recalled times when children played joyfully in the yard without causing any trouble. The police officer listened carefully and noted her concerns. Recognizing the potential seriousness of the situation, law enforcement initiated an investigation into the eviction notice and the accompanying police report. They wanted to ensure that no one was being wrongfully targeted, especially with the possible implications of fraud. Officers began reaching out to other neighbors to gather testimonies about Sarah's behavior and to verify Linda's claims. As they delved deeper, it became clear that this case was more than just a neighborhood dispute. It was a matter that could reveal deceit lurking beneath Maplewood's charming facade. As the investigation progressed, police began interviewing various neighbors, meticulously documenting their testimonies. Several residents, including Mrs. Thompson, confirmed that they had seen no unruly behavior from Sarah's children. In fact, many spoke highly of Sarah's family and their positive presence in the community. This information immediately raised red flags for the authorities regarding Linda's police report. The officers also decided to review security camera footage from several homes near Sarah's property. They discovered that the footage contradicted the claims made in the report, showing peaceful gatherings with laughter and children playing innocently in the yard. With each piece of evidence they gathered, the inconsistencies in Linda's narrative became increasingly apparent. To further validate their findings, law enforcement reached out to the police department that supposedly received Linda's complaint. Upon investigation, officers found no record of any calls concerning disturbances at Sarah's home around the reported times. The combination of witness statements, video evidence, and official documentation led authorities to question not only the validity of Linda's claims but also her integrity. With a clearer picture emerging, it became evident that a serious deception had taken place within the once peaceful neighborhood of Maplewood. After gathering compelling evidence against Linda, the police arranged a meeting to confront her about the fabricated police report. On a quiet Tuesday morning, officers approached Linda's home, their expressions serious yet determined. Inside, Linda sat at her desk, confidently organizing HOA files, still convinced her actions were justified. When the officers entered, she looked up, startled but quickly composed herself. They presented their findings, laying out witness statements, video footage, and the lack of any records related to supposed disturbances. The walls she had built around her authority began to crumble as she understood the weight of the evidence stacked against her. Stammering, Linda attempted to defend herself, asserting that her intentions had been purely for the good of the community. However, the officers were unmoved by her pleas. Realizing she was cornered and her scheme had backfired spectacularly, Linda felt a wave of panic wash over her. With reluctance, they informed her of the charges, filing fraudulent documents and misusing her position as HOA president. The officers placed handcuffs around her wrists as the reality of her actions set in. Once seen as a figure of authority in Maplewood, Linda was now led away from her home, leaving behind a community grappling with the aftermath of betrayal. The arrest of Linda sent shockwaves through the Maplewood community, sparking a whirlwind of reactions among the residents. Many neighbors felt a mix of relief and disbelief. Some had long suspected that Linda's authoritative style was crossing a line, while others were shocked that someone they viewed as a leader could betray their trust so profoundly. Mrs. Thompson, having played a crucial role in exposing the truth, received praise from several residents who commended her bravery in standing up against Linda's actions. "It's about time someone said something," one neighbor remarked, grateful for the courage it took to approach law enforcement. Conversely, there were those who felt pity for Linda, viewing her arrest as a tragic fall from grace. Some neighbors recalled her past efforts to maintain the neighborhood and worried about the impact this scandal would have on her family. "She just wanted what she thought was best for Maplewood," one woman lamented, struggling with mixed emotions. As discussions unfolded at various gatherings, opinions remained divided. Some supported Sarah, recognizing her right to a peaceful home, while others expressed regret over the unraveling of community unity. What was once a close-knit neighborhood now faced challenges not only in its organization but also in rebuilding relationships torn apart by deceit and suspicion. In the aftermath of Linda's arrest, the Maplewood community found itself at a critical crossroads. The incident not only revealed the fragility of trust within their neighborhood but also highlighted the importance of accountability in leadership roles. Many residents took time to reflect on what had transpired, recognizing how quickly deceit can undermine the foundations of a community. Conversations over coffee or during evening walks often circled around the lessons learned from this experience. Residents began to understand that honesty is essential in maintaining integrity among neighbors and that they all share a responsibility to uphold transparency. It became clear that while rules and regulations help enforce order, they should never serve as tools for manipulation or control. As neighbors regained their footing, they realized the necessity for open communication and collaboration within their homeowners association. Some proposed setting up regular meetings, where every voice could be heard without fear of reprimand. This commitment to fostering an environment where community members could express concerns freely marked a new beginning for Maplewood. As residents worked to heal the rift, they embraced a renewed sense of unity, one built on trust, mutual respect, and collective accountability. In facing adversity, they found strength in each other, determined to create a positive change that would benefit everyone in the neighborhood. In the end, justice was served in Maplewood as Linda faced the consequences of her deceitful actions. Her arrest not only exposed the vulnerabilities within the community but also sparked a powerful conversation about the values of integrity and accountability. Residents learned that leadership carries a profound responsibility to foster trust rather than fear, and they became more aware of the importance of honest communication. As the neighborhood began to heal from the turmoil, it embraced a renewed commitment to support one another. The experience taught everyone that while rules are meant to maintain order, they should never suppress individual voices or foster divisions among neighbors. This realization led residents to establish regular meetings for open dialogue, where everyone was encouraged to express their concerns without hesitation. With time, Maplewood transformed into a community that valued both structure and compassion. Neighbors began collaborating on projects that celebrated their diversity and strengthened relationships. As they rebuilt their trust, they ensured that incidents like this would never occur again. Ultimately, this story became a reminder for all about the power of unity and the necessity of honesty in creating a thriving community where everyone feels valued and heard.